Righto, pull up a stump and grab a cold one, because what I'm about to show you is enough to make a magpie gag on a greasy chip. We've all seen some dodgy stuff at the local markets. Maybe a meat pie that's more gristle than gravy, or a sausage sizzle where the snap is a bit questionable. But what's going on in the fake food factories of China is on a whole other level of what the bloody hell. We are talking about a world where your Sunday roast is more likely to have come out of a 3D printer and a vat of industrial glue than an actual paddock. It's actual footage, mates. Fair dinkum. Look at this. This is the production line of what they're calling beef. Would you tuck into this? Would you have a crack at these noodles that go up in flames like a dry bush in mid-January? In China, the fake product game is so big, it's basically an Olympic sport, and the gold medalists are the blokes turning old socks and chemicals into a 3-course meal. It's not just a bit of a laugh though, it's a proper health crisis that's eroding trust faster than a coastal cliff in a storm. Today, we're going to have a gander at some of the most shocking fake food items that'll have you checking your pantry with a Geiger counter and a private investigator. Let's start with the fake beef, the real star of this chemical circus. Now, if you look at the start of this video, you'll see the beef in question. Proper beef is getting pricey these days. It's going for about 160 to 180 yen a kilo, which is roughly 22 to 26 US bucks. That's a fair whack of change for a bit of steak. So, what do these unscrupulous characters do? They decide to cut corners like a plater in a car park. They swap out the cow for much cheaper meats like chicken, duck, or pork, which only sets them back about $2 or $3 a kilo. But you can't just serve a bloke a bit of duck and tell him it's a T-bone, right? Not unless you're a magician or a complete fraud. To get that beefy flavor, they start throwing in beef essence or beef tendons into the mix. It's like a science experiment gone wrong in a suburban shed. Once they've marinated this frankenflesh, they slap in some gelatin to mimic the texture. They want it chewy and elastic, like a bit of old bungee cord. Some of these manufacturers are so dedicated to the craft of deception that they actually carve a beef-like texture onto the surface. If you weren't looking closely, you'd think it was a prime cut from the local butcher. Others aren't even that sophisticated. They just grab the leftovers. We're talking lymph nodes, internal organs, the bits even a hungry dingo would think twice about, and grind it all up into minced meat. They add enough chemicals to preserve a pharaoh and sell it to unsuspecting punters as real minced beef. And it gets worse, mates. To save even more dollary-doos, some of these dodgy brothers are using meat from cows that have already kicked the bucket or aged sows that have seen better decades. To make this grey, sad-looking mess look like a fresh cut from the farm, they douse it in colouring agents like carmine and nitrates. It's basically painting a fence, but the fence is someone's dinner. Then you've got the real reckless ones who don't even bother with meat at all. They just mix up some eggs and starch or use plant protein to create a composite meat. It's basically a meat-flavoured sponge. They add so many additives that it looks and feels like the real deal, but it's got as much cow in it as a Vegemite sandwich. This fake beef is bloody everywhere. Next time you're at a restaurant ordering a stir fry or a bit of boiled beef, you might want to ask yourself if you're eating a cow or a chemistry set. Let's talk about a specific type of fake beef that's been dominating the industry for over 10 years, Mongolian meat. Now, when you hear Mongolian meat, you're probably thinking of a nice Mongolian lamb or beef dish from the local takeaway. But in this case, there isn't a sniff of beef in the building. This Mongolian meat comes in 3 grades, like buying a new ute. The budget model is mostly duck meat and a cocktail of additives, priced dirt cheap. The mid-range option gives you a bit of pork and duck, plus a mountain of chemicals, and the luxury edition, the top shelf stuff, is mostly pork and even more additives. One bloke in a video reveals that a bag of this stuff has enough for 2 servings and costs the restaurant about 5 yen. They then turn around and sell it to you for 58 yen, a bowl. That's a profit margin that would make a bank manager weep with joy. If you look at the label, it's a horror show. Pork scraps, duck scraps, phosphate, sodium citrate, carrageenan. It's basically a list of things you'd find under a kitchen sink, not on a dinner plate. Moving on, we've got a bloke in Giyang who reckons he bought some fake beef on the street. He says people these days are so clever they can fake anything. And he's not wrong. They've managed to fake the tendons, the colour, everything. To the naked eye, it looks like a prime cut. But once he got it home and tried to cut it, he found out he couldn't even tear it apart. It's like it's held together by industrial strength araldite. He cuts it open and shows off this white gunk that looks like glue. And the real kicker? He holds a lighter to it and the bloody thing catches fire! It starts smelling like a burning tire at a drift meet. And they're selling this plastic-tasting rubbish for 200 yen, a half kilo! Then there's the fake beef jerky. You want to know how that's made? It's basically an arts and crafts project. First, they make a mold. Once the mold is ready, they refine the shape until it looks like a perfect little snack. They clean the mold, prep the ingredients, which is a loose term for whatever chemicals they have lying around, and then they bake it. Once it's cooked, they pull it out and give it a second coat of paint and glaze to make it look appetizing. Presto! You've got yourself some beef jerky that's never even seen a cow. But wait, there's more! Fake lamb and fake lamb chops are also giving consumers a massive headache. Usually, lamb is butchered and inspected properly, but some businesses are mixing low quality or even spoiled meat with chemical flavorings. They use an enzyme as a binding agent, basically meat glue, to stick duck and chicken meat together with a bit of beef seasoning to create lamb chops. There's a classic story of a bloke who bought some lamb chops at a food festival in Shenzhen. He takes a big bite, only to find a bloody chopstick shoved inside the meat to hold it together! He's laughing about it now, saying it's just another day of getting tricked, but fair dinkum, that's a bit rich. Now, let's talk about the staple of every Aussie pantry, rice. Surely you can't fake rice, right? Wrong. Have you ever seen the production of plastic rice? It's a sight to behold. You've got white plastic being fed into a machine, and it comes out the other end looking like dough. Then it goes through another machine that draws it out into shiny little grains of plastic rice. It looks perfect, like something you'd find in a display home. Another video shows a gel-like substance being poured in, and bingo, rice pops out the other side. Even the fancy self-heating rice meals are a bit sus. Real rice is crystal clear with distinct grains. This fake stuff looks like long, thread-like strands with tiny bubbles inside. It turns out it's reconstituted rice made from a mix of rice, wheat, cornstarch, and enough additives to make your head spin. They grind it up, puff it out, and shape it to look like the real deal. But since all the nutrients are gone, eating it long term is about as healthy as licking a battery. And don't get me started on the natural green rice. It's marketed as a specialty from northeast China, but even the locals haven't heard of it until recently. It's supposed to be free from colorants, but bloggers are calling bull. One blogger bought some for 162 yen a kilo, the most expensive rice he's ever bought, and the ingredient list was everything times but times rice. Corn flour, spinach flour, mulberry leaf powder, bamboo leaf powder. It's basically a lawn in a bag. When you cook it, it fades in color and sticks together like a clump of wet cement. Eating it is like chewing on a tub of clad glue. It's the kind of stuff that rip your dentures right out of your head. Next on the menu, noodles. A bloke bought a pack of noodles for 10 yen, only to find out they were more like rubber bands. He soaked them overnight and not a speck of flour dissolved. You could stretch them like a bit of bungee cord. Another customer swore off market noodles after seeing a shop owner ignoring customers while kneading some very suspicious looking dough. It turns out many of these noodles contain borax, the stuff you use to kill ants to make them elastic. They look smooth and yellowy, but they're packed with carcinogens. They even add formaldehyde to keep them looking fresh. A blogger put these noodles under a microscope and found granular substances that shouldn't be there. He did a borax test, and sure enough, the kit lit up like a Christmas tree. Another test for formaldehyde showed levels so high they were off the charts. Even after boiling, the chemicals were still there. It's basically a bowl of slow-acting poison. Then we've got the tofu. Tofu's supposed to be healthy, right? Wrong again. In China, you've got fake tofu that's so hard you could use it as a brick. It's suspected of containing industrial gypsum, which is great for walls, but not so great for your insides. Another version looks white and tasty, but smells like lime powder. That's the whitening agents for you. Some merchants even add gelatin, so the tofu won't soften no matter how long you cook it. It's like trying to eat a bit of discarded thong. There's also tofu with a perfectly smooth surface, no natural honeycomb texture, which means it's packed with cocoa gluten. It's a total stitch up. Let's move on to the breakfast of champions, buns. But you've got to be careful of aluminium buns. Real buns are a bit yellowish, but these fake ones are snowy white and soft as a cloud. They use baking powder containing aluminum sulfate and aluminum hydroxide to make them puff up. They look great, but they're a disaster for your health. Consuming these long-term can mess with your bones and your memory. You'll be forgetting where you parked the ute and why you walked into the room. And it gets grimmer. One blogger looked at buns made with lymphatic meat under a microscope. This is meat from the animal's immune system, packed with bacteria and viruses like salmonella. It's unfit for a dog, yet they're serving it up to people. It's enough to make your stomach do a backflip. And Struth, they've even faked eggs. Imagine cracking an egg only to find it's a chemistry project. A woman showed off some fake eggs she bought. They crack in the middle, the whites are darker, and the yolks are just a solid massive gunk. They've got no flavor and are completely spoiled. The process is mental. They mix sodium alginate with water to make the white, then add yellow food coloring for the yolk. They set the yolk in a calcium chloride solution, then build a shell out of calcium carbonate. It's a bloody marvel of modern science, but you wouldn't want to eat it for breakfast. Even your afternoon cuppa isn't safe. They're counterfeiting tea leaves by spraying them with fragrances using an air compressor. It's like giving your tea a bit of a new car smell. To make it look vibrant, they add industrial pigments like lead chrome green. That stuff is toxic, mates. It belongs in a paint tin, not a teapot. They also add sugar and artificial sweeteners to make the cheap, nasty leaves taste better. They'll blend low-quality tannin tea and sell it as the premium stuff. It's a total bamboozle for the average consumer who just wants a brew. And the honey. Honey's supposed to be the nectar of the gods, but here it's more like the nectar of the Dodgy brothers. They mix syrup and fragrance to make it look like the real deal. Some businesses even feed their bees sugar so they don't bother collecting nectar. It's lazy bee honey. Others add alum and white sugar, which can damage your brain and lead to memory loss. They even fake the beehives. A bloke bought a natural beehive for 30 yen, but when he pulled it apart, he found a line of industrial paraffin wax in the middle. He soaked it in warm water and the chemicals started leaching out. It's a carcinogenic nightmare. Finally, let's talk seafood. A woman at a night market bought sea cucumber only to find out it was actually fish maw. Another restaurant was caught using sponges, bloody sponges, instead of sea cucumber. A tourist bought seafood only to find the crab legs were stuffed with gluten. And one poor bloke spent 400 yen on mantis shrimp only to find they were hollow and filled with water. Talk about a watered down meal. It's a grim state of affairs, mate. Some people reckon that in Chinese society, billions of lives are being sacrificed to toxic milk powder, dodgy vaccines, and moldy food. It's reached a point where if you don't eat, you starve, but if you do eat, you're slowly poisoning yourself. The public is fed up with empty promises from the authorities about food safety. As the defenses crumble and the poison spirals out of control, it highlights the deeper issues. No transparency, a dodgy legal system, and a total collapse of social trust. Under a regime of lies and poisoning, the people are just trying to navigate a life where even a simple bowl of noodles is a gamble. It's a bloody tragedy, and it's enough to make you appreciate your backyard Barbie a whole lot more. Stay safe out there, and for heaven's sake, check your beef for glue.